something uncomfortable to begin with. When your mind won't stop, are you trying to understand reality or quietly trying to avoid what you might feel? Overthinking doesn't begin as anxiety. It begins as curiosity, a small detail, something slightly off, something your mind decides not to ignore completely. You notice it, and instead of letting it pass, your attention stays there a little longer, as if something important needs to be figured out. Your mind leans in, trying to understand what happened, trying to build clarity where things feel slightly uncertain and undefined. At first, it feels harmless, even useful, like you're being aware, like you're paying attention, like you're doing something intelligent with your thoughts. But slowly, almost invisibly, something changes. Curiosity becomes doubt, and doubt starts carrying a subtle emotional weight you didn't notice before. What if something is wrong? The question doesn't arrive loudly, it slips in quietly, just enough to keep your mind engaged. And once that question appears, your brain starts searching. Not for truth, but for something that reduces the discomfort of uncertainty. Because uncertainty is uncomfortable, not knowing what someone meant, what will happen next, or whether you did something wrong. So your mind tries to help. It replays the moment, adjusts the details, trying to build a version of reality that feels safer to hold on to. It feels productive, like you're getting closer to clarity, like if you think a little more, everything will finally make sense. And sometimes for a brief moment, there is relief. A small sense of control, like you're doing something about what you feel. But that relief doesn't last, and the questions return, often stronger, pulling your attention back into the same loop again. So you think again, deeper this time, more detailed, trying harder to reach a conclusion that finally feels stable and safe. Your mind creates possibilities, different meanings, different outcomes, each one trying to explain what might be happening beneath the surface. And the more you explore them, the more real they begin to feel, even when they're not actually happening in reality. It starts to feel like depth, like you're understanding something important, but what you're really doing is trying to feel safe. Because underneath all that thinking, there is something more vulnerable, a fear of rejection, embarrassment, or getting something wrong. So your mind tries to stay ahead. If you understand everything, maybe nothing will catch you off guard unexpectedly. If I imagine every outcome, maybe it won't hurt as much. That idea feels protective, like preparation against emotional impact. And without noticing, thinking becomes a habit, a response your mind uses every time something feels uncertain or uncomfortable. Over time, it becomes automatic. Discomfort appears, and your mind immediately starts analyzing to reduce the tension quickly. Not because it solves everything, but because it creates a temporary sense of control over something that feels unclear. Even if that control isn't real, it feels better than sitting with uncertainty without knowing what to do with it. And slowly, your attention shifts away from the present, pulled into a constant internal analysis of everything happening around you. You're in a conversation, but part of you is analyzing it while it's happening, trying to interpret every word and reaction. You make a decision, but your mind keeps revisiting it afterward, questioning if it was right or if you missed something important. You live your life while observing yourself living it, evaluating everything in real time without ever fully relaxing into it. And that creates distance, a subtle separation between you and your actual experience of the present moment. It becomes harder to trust yourself because every instinct, every feeling, every decision goes through constant mental evaluation. Nothing feels fully settled, even when nothing is wrong, because your mind keeps searching for something that might be. But this doesn't mean something is broken. It means your mind learned this pattern somewhere along the way. Maybe there was a time when being careful mattered, when paying attention helped you avoid something uncomfortable or painful. So your mind adapted, becoming more alert, more observant, more prepared for what could go wrong in your environment. And that helped you back then. It made sense. It gave you a way to feel a little more in control. But now it doesn't always know when to stop. So it keeps doing the same thing even when it's no longer needed. It keeps anticipating, even when things are okay, even when there is no real danger in front of you anymore. And that creates tension, not because thinking is bad, but because you feel like you need to think to feel okay. Because when you try to stop, you don't feel calm immediately. You feel the uncertainty that thinking was covering before. So your mind returns to analysis, not to harm you, but because it believes this is how it protects you. The shift begins when you notice a thought and choose not to follow it automatically into another loop of analysis. When you feel discomfort and allow it to exist without immediately trying to fix it or explain it through more thinking. At first, it feels strange, like you're doing nothing, like you're missing something important that you should be solving. But you're not missing anything. You're creating space between you and the constant need to analyze everything. And in that space, something changes. You start to experience the present moment more directly and with less tension. The thoughts don't disappear, but they move differently. They come and go without staying stuck or repeating endlessly. You begin to see that not every thought needs your attention, and not every question needs an immediate answer. And slowly, your mind begins to slow down, not because everything is solved, but because it no longer needs to be.